y'all, welcome back to Adventuring with Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Don't mind my crazy hair, y'all. It's hot today. It's gonna be like 84 and I'm going to wash it later, so don't judge me. In this video, I'm going to clean up my van, clean up my camp, and sip my sparkling water while I talk to you about why I don't camp at national parks. And I'm going to offer some excellent alternatives. I've been getting some comments recently like, Amanda, why don't you camp at national parks? There's actually lots of reasons. National parks are great. They're great land to preserve our beautiful country, right? And to keep animals and the environment and vegetation that is native to that area safe. You know, it's a sanctuary, essentially. And I think it's wonderful. I love the National Park Service and everything they do. I think national parks are tremendous. But the first big reason why I don't camp at national parks, most don't allow dogs. Most national parks do not allow dogs anywhere like trails, campgrounds, except for like the parking lot and maybe some of the main areas. Like the Grand Canyon, for example, dogs are only allowed, I think, on the south rim in very specific areas. Bryce Canyon allows dogs on their main like Hoodoo tourist trail, but that's it. Some national parks have certain dog-friendly campgrounds, but it's rare. So the biggest thing is, since I always have Wynston with me, they don't allow dogs, right? So that's deterrent number one. Deterrent number two, the cell service is often very lacking, and I need cell service. I have stuff to do. I have videos to upload. I have things to write. I have content to create. So if I don't have cell service, you know, especially if I'm traveling alone, that's no bueno. Because so many of the national parks are essentially like in the middle of nowhere and they're their own entity. They often don't have cell service, and I need cell service. It's great if you want to kind of get away and disconnect, but it's very rare that I want to disconnect. So self-service is a big thing. Now at like the gift shop, you know, or like the entrance, there's probably cell service, but when you actually get into the national park itself, there's going to be a serious lack of cell service. So another thing is they're expensive, y'all. Have you ever gone to a national park? They're expensive. I mean, they differ in cost, granted, but you can spend anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks to get into a national park. I think some are actually more expensive than that now. Granted, you can get the annual pass, and so you can go into, you know, any national park for like 80 bucks a year or something like that. But that's only worth it if you plan to go to at least two of the big national parks that cost you, you know, 35, 40 bucks a piece. So you have to decide if that's worth it for you, you know? And the money goes toward a good cause. They keep the national parks open. They employ the rangers and everybody that keeps tabs on the environment and the animals, and that's important. So, you know, and I've been, like I said, I've been to Grand Canyon, I've been to Bryce, I've been to Badlands, I've been to other ones that I can't think of right now. But, you know, it's worth it. You know, maybe once a year I'll stop and like do some touristy stuff, but it's expensive. So if you're on a budget, it's hard to, you know, justify that cost. Moving on. National parks are very touristy. Period. Like, which, I mean, that's the point, right? To bring in tourists, spend money, obviously. But if you don't like a lot of people or crowds, I mean, some of the national parks get chaotic. Chaotic. Bryce Canyon, when I was there in like June of 2021, it was chaotic. Wynston and I were there for a couple hours and then I was like, I'm out. And if you want a camp spot at a campsite, at a campground, you have to book way in advance typically. They're hard to get into. So they're very people-y, very people-y. Maybe it's nice, you know, for a couple hours, kind of like Wynston and I do. We'll stop for a couple hours. But if you actually want to stay and you want some like peace and quiet, do not recommend. But again, the tourism is the point, to bring in money to fund the park, which is great. And I do have my national parks passport, which is really fun because when you go to the national parks, you can get like the stamp and the sticker and everything, and that's great. And Wynston also became a bark ranger, which is super cute. So if you do have a dog, that's fun. Dogs are allowed at Montezuma's Castle, the National Monument, near Flagstaff. And I do recommend checking that out because your dog can become a bark ranger and you can get some stamps and stuff. But in terms of camping, you know, national park campgrounds for staying there, completely different. Also, I like to have a lot of space, and oftentimes I like to, you know, have Wynston off leash, and that's just not possible at national parks, especially at the campgrounds. You're generally right up on top of each other, and that's even if they allow dogs. So I've never camped at a national park because I have, well, because of the reasons I told you, I guess. Here's the national parks passport. I just wanted to give you some examples. So this was my stamp and my sticker from Bryce Canyon, June 6, 2021. And it also has national monuments. So like I went to Sunset Crater, Volcano National Monument. That was May 2021. And so that has the location. It's a really fun book if you do go to national monuments and national parks. It really makes for a fun memory. If there are national parks that you're interested in visiting and you do have a dog, be sure to just go on the government website, and they have all the information you need on there. And oftentimes the websites will have, you know, things to do in the area, and you can find other campgrounds, maybe primitive campgrounds, cheaper campgrounds, national forest, free camping in the area. And if you have questions, just contact them. They're always happy to help you. They want to bring people into the areas of national parks. And unless it's like, I think when I went to Badlands National Park, which I don't recommend, I didn't really like Badlands, but it just kind of reminded me of like the Grand Canyon without the canyon. But anyways, I don't remember there being a lot around that national park. So just be on the lookout and do your research. Google is your bestie. So what are some different alternatives to camping at a national park? Well, of course, national forest. Like that's where I'm in right now. National forest and national park. I remember when I didn't really know the difference, right? National forest, you're not charged admission to go in. You are camping on forest roads. There are established campgrounds in national forests all over the country, but there is also dispersed camping, 14-day free dispersed camping. So that is what makes national forest so great. And oftentimes there is national forest land located near national parks. So you just have to look it up and do a little bit of research. Also, state parks. State parks are a tremendous alternative to national parks. And like national forests, they are often located near national parks. I actually really enjoy state parks. Wynston and I have stayed at several state parks. Now, granted, the campgrounds, people are packed in there just like they would be at any campground, I suppose. So I keep Wynston on a long line or keep him in his playpen when we're camped at state parks. But they're generally cheaper, you know, maybe $20 to $25 a night. Much more lenient, much more dog friendly. They often have a lot of amenities, a dump station, all of your showers, potable water. The state parks that I've stayed at have quite a few amenities and fun activities, trails, beautiful, water, flowers. State parks are kept up really well. One of my favorite state parks that I've ever been to was Custer State Park in South Dakota. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. I actually did not camp there. The campground was totally booked when I was there, which is fine, but they have incredible bison and wildlife, and just the drive into Custer State Park and around the park is tremendous. So I highly recommend Custer State Park. I also really like Lake Havasu State Park in Arizona. McIntosh Woods State Park in Iowa was great. But again, state parks are cheaper. When I've stayed, sometimes it's easier to book than other times. When I actually stayed at a state park in Nevada, and honestly, the name of it is escaping me right now. There was like kind of like a lottery, and I went on a wait list, and I ended up getting chosen, and that was a really great stay. That was in, or Nebraska. Did I say Nevada? Nebraska. So it was in Gretna, but I forget what the state park was called. Anyways, it was wonderful. So state parks are great, and a kind of a medium alternative between boondocking in national forest and staying at a national park. Y'all, I can't wait to shower later. Like, this is out of control. This is out of control. Ultimately, national parks are amazing. But for dog friendliness, budget friendly, no crowds, probably not the best option. For me, it's like visit for a couple hours and then go camp somewhere else. Just do your research. National parks are amazing. What NPS does is fantastic. If you're not following their social media, National Park Service has super funny marketing and social media. Oh my gosh, the stuff that they talk about on like their Instagram is incredible. So I hope this answers some questions as to why I don't personally camp at national parks, but I do think that they are amazing and a very important part of this country. And I also hope that my alternatives were helpful. If you are new to my channel, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and I will see you next time.